this is the president. Hello, this is the president of the United States. Who is this? Is it you again?
Look behind you.
This is my private line. How did you get through?
They're everywhere. All the time. We see them every day. But you have to look behind you.
There is nothing behind me. How did you get this number?
The spaceman told me.
What spaceman?
It doesn't matter. I'm telling you about monsters. Please, you must look behind you.
Young lady, there are no monsters in the Oval Office.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said, "Wait, Jimmy." The loudspeaker spoke up and said, "Wait, Jimmy." The loudspeaker spoke up and said, "Wait, Jimmy." Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up. Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. So you can recall, maybe 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, America was burning to the ground. And now it's on a slow burn. A slow burn, quite literally. We were witness to the most destructive riots in American history, hit more than 24 cities. Looting, arson, opportunistic thieves and arsonists hijacked massive peaceful protests and acts of peaceful civil disobedience, all sparked by the senseless murder of a man named George Floyd. And if it wasn't enough, there were others that wound up on the mainstream news. And when they milked it for all it was worth, they put us back into COVID-19 mode. And all this has again brought the divide deeper in America. Should you wear a mask? Should you not wear a mask? Is it your right not to wear a mask? Of course it's your right not to wear a mask. But see, that's the problem. No one knows for sure if it's your right or not your right. If it's enforced with fines, they take away the things you're used to, the things that make you human. It's just one more way to spark the divide and spark the fires of war. See, what those who are fighting against, and as we fight against one another, and what those who fight against one another fail to understand is that the state is the enemy. The enemy is the state, the predator state. And true negligent handling of the Constitution and the literal surrendering of our republic to globalist intervention will eventually put us on an even more sure war footing. The rioters only make others feel grateful for the enemy's protection. It's a catch-22. And everyone is looking to the legacy media to educate them and help them through. But here's the thing. Many are repeating some very crazy things in unprecedented times. Repeated over and over again, it becomes a mantra. We are living in unprecedented times, unprecedented time. History is a great teacher. And when we see rioters going into cities and tearing down statues, regardless of what they represent, and this is something that's bothered me, when we're seeing them going in and tearing down the statues, regardless of what they represent, this is an indicator of a radical element wishing to tear down legacies and replace them with new ideologies. See, when a group sets out to tear statues down, it means that icons that represented histories, both good and bad, are about to be erased, and when they are finished removing these, they move on to removing religious icons, and eventually, they remove you. They remove the people. And the targets will range anywhere from rulers to clergy to journalists to artists, the helpless, the innocent. They're also removed in order to satisfy those who wish to eradicate what they feel is a scapegoat. The promise of bloodshed coming alongside or following shortly after statue and monument removal is, well, it's an historic certainty. The symbols of people never satisfy. People themselves must always come next. It's not enough to tear down statues. It's not enough to set fire to churches. It's not enough to set fire to police buildings, government buildings, spray paint stuff. It's not enough. Not enough. They need more. History has dictated that mobs need more. I was talking with a colleague of mine, Cooper Banks, today. We're talking about 1790 and the mobs that were looted and pillaged at Paris's treasured Notre Dame. And to the revolutionaries, the cathedral symbolized everything that was wrong with France's history and society, a history of kings, tradition, and religion, and a society beset by royal injustice and systemic inequality. So as over the next 3 years, 1790 on down, the 12th century church riches and artifacts were all stripped away. They were stolen. They were destroyed. The remnants were hidden by the faithful and sold off by the faithless. Statues of the Virgin Mary were removed, and statues to the Goddess of Liberty took their place on desecrated altars. And nearby Sainte-Chapelle, the revolution pulled the apostles from the pedestals that they stood watch over the Christ's crown of thorns there at Notre Dame. 12 statues were vandalized and buried, half so badly they were still undergoing attempts at restoration. As the destruction of religious art unfurled, priests who didn't swear allegiance to the new order and those who aided them were sentenced to death. Back in the cathedral, the revolutionary government mistook the 28 statues of the kings of ancient Judah for French kings, dragging them into the public square for decapitation. Their buried heads were not discovered for 200 years. In the Place de Louis XV, the large statue of the square's namesake was torn down, and the plaza was renamed Place de la Révolution. A guillotine was raised, and the liberated space would see the execution of more than 1,200 prisoners, from the king and his wife to the executions of ringleader himself, Maximilien Robespierre. To the head of a monument, or the monument being buried, that's the beginning. When fascists want to work their way through a city, they'll tear down all of the history of that city. They'll tear down every statue, and they'll leave those that remain that remind them of why they're doing what they're doing. And that is why the whole idea of calling you an anti-fascist or becoming an anti-fascist and doing fascist moves is quite simply doublethink. The head of the monument, the Russian Tsar Alexander III, during its dismantling in central Moscow, they did that. They ripped the statue down soon after the 1917 revolution that led to communist rule in Russia. A Tsar's double-headed eagle was removed from a spire of the Kremlin after the Bolshevik Revolution. The eagles were replaced by the communist red stars that crown the Kremlin spires today. We all know what happened after these monuments were taken down. People were killed by the thousands, and wars were fought. Civil wars were fought. Activists across the country just taking down statues. Here in this country, targeting statues of former U.S. presidents and other well-known figures, all escalating a campaign that previously focused on Confederate generals and prompting a national reckoning over the value and meaning of historical monuments. As the protests over racial injustice continue in major U.S. cities, activists have forcefully removed statues and monuments honoring historical figures who owned slaves or participated in the oppression of minority groups. However, even the statues of those who liberated the slaves are being removed. Former presidents on Mount Rushmore are being seen as imperialist conquerors, and there are those who want the national anthem to be changed to Imagine by John Lennon. What's most interesting are the statues that are not being removed. I've said before, Senator Robert Byrd was a known Klansman, and his statue still stands. Charles Darwin's statues remain, even though he justified scientific racism, eugenics, and genocide. Statues of Margaret Sanger are also not being violated or taken down, even though she advocated racist eugenic measures and did not shy from addressing a KKK rally. Yet she's honored by a bust in the National Portraits Gallery and the Civil Rights Exhibit, of all places. I don't advocate their removal. I'm not saying, hey, let's remove the statues, because they both still have a lot to teach us about how science becomes a pretext for injustice and worse. Do you know that a statue in San Francisco of Miguel Cervantes, author of Don Quixote, was defaced with the word bastard spray painted onto its protest by the protesters? You know, what the protesters don't know about Miguel Cervantes is that he was a slave for 5 years. He was captured off the coast of Africa. Outside of Wisconsin state capitol, the statue of Hans Christian Heg was toppled. Who's Hans Christian Heg? He was an anti-slavery activist who joined a militia and fought slave traders. Then he joined the Union Army during the Civil War and died in battle fighting to end slavery. In Seattle, the statue of Vladimir Lenin, it wasn't even knocked over. It was untouched. The statue of George Washington was torn down and spray painted near my home here in Portland, Oregon. In fact, the area where that statue is a very beautiful and picturesque place. It's right there in the Hollywood district, and it was torn down. Phrases like white fragility and Big Floyd were written on it with spray paint. See, this is all accepted because of the idea that they present oppression. And I always thought they represented liberty and that all wars for independence were fought and end in bloodshed. All wars, not just the Civil War, but all wars. And everything was remembered because of those wars so that we would avoid them or we would learn how to be revolutionaries. Those that commit these acts are doing so because they are looking for a fight. They want a war, but it's a war without direction or a figurehead. And those that do this think that Trump sucks as a political strategy and that destroying property sends a message, but they don't realize that it's the wrong message. It's a declaration of war. Don't kid yourself. It's a declaration of war. It's a challenging of principles in civic history. But, of course, we have science and consensus and politics and ignorance of history that are pushing us towards a civil war in this country. What is at stake, as I said many times, is the data. The data as it's being twisted and turned so that you can look at it and say, oh, okay, well, that fits my criteria for what is real, instead of what the reality is. History should be looked at here, not science, not consensus, not politics, but the ignorance of history is going to put us right smack dab in the middle of a civil war, because we all know that fascists start with statues, and what comes next are the people. 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero, and we'll be back. I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. America is now divided deeper now with social issues. And many Americans are being radicalized as their own ideologies are being stifled, and many are seeking refuge with various collective groups that share a lot of values, the same values, if you will. They see the government as a threat to social sanctity, but in many ways, it depends on which side of the fence you think you sit on, whether you're a neoliberal or a neoconservative. None of the liberals and progressives or the real conservatives want this type of fighting to go on, but of course we have extremists in our midst that are involved in a conspiracy to change the ideology of America and its social values. This is being done to guarantee a blowback of those individuals that are ready to radicalize and create a reason for the new American police state, or a police state that is brought into power by the Great World Reset that is supposed to be coming within 6 months of time. In Dr. John Coleman's book, The Committee of 300, it's documented that there have been plans in the works to socially engineer the populace into accepting a controlled superstate. And the super government can only be implemented if the people demand it. If the people say, yes, we'll make choices to be controlled. We'll make choices to do what we're told. We'll make choices that certainly will not upset the apple cart. Government does not trust you. You need to understand this. Government does not trust you. They don't trust you if you're white. They don't trust you if you're black. They don't trust you if you're Latino. They don't trust you if you're an immigrant. They don't trust you if you're a Jew. They don't trust you if you're a Gentile, Muslim. They don't trust you. You need to understand that. This is why we are in the situation we're in right now. They don't trust you. So they demand the people who are good little sheep police the other sheep. This is the way it's engineered. You do the shocks to the system, you bring trauma into the mix, and then manipulate and wear down the populace into adjusting their principles for the coming changes that are going to be occurring. The idea is to allow the idea of transcendence to die off in the human being, making him more of a beast or an animal easily controlled and manipulated through trigger phrases, sounds, numeric sequences, and other stimuli. The subject is then reborn and reprogrammed to do the will of their masters. We're all going to be slaves in the end. Divide and conquer has divided everyone to the point of conquered. It can no longer be treated as a few mindless minority groups or other groups that we say need to be respected because they're victimized. As Zbigniew Brzezinski, co-founder of the Trilateral Commission with David Rockefeller and puppet master of the Barack Obama administration, once said, he said, in earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people. Literally, it was easier to control 1 million people than physically to kill 1 million people. Today, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people. It's easier to kill than to control 1 million people. Now we know how they're accomplishing this. They're creating an environment where America will eat itself. We'll kill each other. They don't need to kill us. We'll kill each other. But of course, it's all about science. It's all about consensus. It's all about the data. It's all about experts all telling you what to think, how to do this, roll over, play dead, get spiritual minded, whatever they want you to do. I mean, you look at the data. Just look at the data alone about what's being searched on Google. Did you know that civil war is trending on Google right now? Words like riots and protests, they actually spiked and trended just after the COVID-19 rebirth, right? So it's been going in early June specifically. The word Marxism has now spiked. And it's trending steady on Google right now. Most voters are fearing the political violence is coming from opponents of the president's policies, just as they did it back in the second year of Barack Obama's presidency, and nearly 1 in 3 think a civil war is coming. 31% of they're saying likely U.S. voters say it's likely that the United States will experience a second civil war sometime in the next 5 years. 11% say it's very likely. A new Rasmussen Reports national telephone and online survey finds that 59% consider a second civil war unlikely, but that includes only 29% that say it's not at all likely. Democrats are at 37%. They're more fearful than Republicans of a civil war, 32%. And voters not affiliated with either major party, 26% say that a civil war is coming. And, of course, we have our others that believe of a post-President Trump civil war, whether he's voted in or not. Violence, of course, from voters during the voting situation. 33% are very concerned that on or around the election we will have civil war, compared to 53% and 28% respectively in the spring of Obama's second year in office. 37% don't share that concern, including 60% are not at all concerned. The destruction of property, the way we're treating each other, the way we're seeing these takeovers in major cities, you're not thinking that this is going to happen? You're not thinking that we're heading this way? History says we're going to. History's a great teacher, but all we have now is the data. The data that the experts are giving that says that certain things happen the way they are for a reason. Only they declare what the reason is. 877-733-1011. What did Marx call them? Useful idiots? Is that what, or Lenin? One of them. They're all useful idiots carrying out the direction of those who wish to control them. 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero, and we'll be back. I'm Clyde Lewis. Have you ever wondered how I come up with a lot of ideas and some of the research I do and where I get my materials? Well, I'm going to give you an opportunity to have all those materials. some past Ground Zero shows and other things that we've explored. We have a little library called Ground Zero Aftermath. It is an exclusive online library and resource center consisting of research material from the vault of Ground Zero. This includes rare PDFs of books, videos, and audio recordings, links, articles, and commentary used by me in preparation for each show I do. Webinars will also be included with your subscription. In addition, you'll gain access to our comprehensive and ever-expanding news outlet, Newsifer. So, go to aftermath.media. That's aftermath.media. Members receive a protected password via email along with weekly updates. Again, it's aftermath.media. Just aftermath.media.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Avoid the comfortable idea that the mere form of government can of itself safeguard a nation against despotism. Despotism.
Despotism.
Power and control.
Despotism. Power and control. Power and control. Despotism.
As early as 1928, the communists declared that the racial differences among our people constituted the weakest and most vulnerable point in our social fabric.
Is there any escape? Escape?
The communists declared that the racial differences among our people constituted the weakest and most vulnerable point in our social fabric. By constantly probing and straining at this one spot, they calculated that eventually the cloth could be torn apart and that Americans could be divided, weakened, and perhaps even set against each other in open combat. Open combat. Open combat. They're working both sides of the street. They want hatred, violence, and bloodshed between the races, and they don't care how they get it or whom they use. They want hatred, violence, and bloodshed between the races.
Between the races,
And they don't care
how they get it or whom they use.
Watch this.
This business about open-mindedness is nonsense. Young people cannot be trusted to form their own opinion.
Yes, ma'am. These children are being taught to accept uncritically whatever they're told. Despotism stands a good chance. So goes the nation.
Don't want to be an American idiot. Don't want a nation under the new media. And can you hear the sound of hysteria? The subliminal mind, America. The subliminal mind, America.
Despotism.
Despotism.
Any all-out minority revolution must create a state of crisis wherein almost all of the male population would be forced to remain in their homes to protect their property and families.
Don't want to be, 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 want to be an American idiot. Don't want a nation under the new media. And can you hear the sound of hysteria? The subliminal mind of America.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. So, cultural Marxism, that's what I'm thinking here. Anarcho-communism. These are some words that, everybody has an opinion about what they are. But is the cultural Marxism, or is it this anarcho-communism? Is this what we're mainlining now in America? Is this what's hidden that behind the war that is coming? I mean, look. They're telling us that capitalism is in crisis across the globe, creating these color revolutions. But what is the alternative? Well, of course. What do you think the alternative is? Look, when they're telling people that they want to replace the national anthem with Imagine, I remember there was an interview in Rolling Stone magazine where John Lennon got all aggravated by people who felt that Imagine was such a sacrosanct song. He said, "Don't you know that when I wrote that song, it's nothing more than the Communist Manifesto set to music, and yet they play it every day in America?" See, and that's the thing. It's irony, but it's not lost on those who think like Marxists and try to put their ideas into these rallies and these types of gatherings. Because, see, that's the new hope. The change is to go directly in another direction, go directly in reverse. See, that's the thing. It's economically catastrophic times. The revival and interest in Marx and Marxist thought is right there. I mean, look, we were saying earlier that the Chinese model is the model they want to use for the universal world, the universal world government. But see, that's the thing, is that, people are having a hard time believing that something like despotism or the idea of Marx ideas would be useful for the young, and to try and get them and beguile them into accepting a one world government. At least that's the perspective that I'm looking into. I mean, it's certainly key to looking into why we're having a renaissance with this type of thought. And it's certainly there. It's certainly there. I mean, if you look at the histories, you notice that things like statues and other things get torn down, and then people get torn down. People are then marched away, arrested, killed, gassed, like the Jews were in Nazi Germany. This is what happens in the future. 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. Let's go to Pericles in Virginia. Hi, Pericles. You're on Ground Zero.
Brother Clyde, how you doing?
Good.
Excellent program tonight. Quick question for you, just to run it past you. You were talking a lot about the importance of data.
Yeah.
And what's going on right now. And I was really thinking about that, and I wanted to just throw this out there. What do you think would be the result if they were to shut down internet service for even several days and or phone service, because that would slow down real-time information and communication for people?
Well, they can and expect those blackouts. You could also expect, and I've had this on good authority, people are wondering why I moved all my materials over to aftermath.media. We wanted a private server in another country to basically handle all of our stuff, and so we moved it over to Canada in a very secure server. And the reason why is because here in America, you're starting to see the unraveling of communication and the internet, not just from censorship, okay? Everybody's worried about the censorship angle. Oh, I'm being censored. But I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of advertisers are pulling out of Facebook. Why? Because Facebook wants to run Trump ads. And they're saying, you run them, we'll pull our advertising. So it's all about money. See, the thing is, before I never had to worry about money. Everybody thinks, well, gosh, he brags so much about being number 5 or number 6 in the nation, and he can't afford to run his radio show. Here's the thing, guys, and I'm going to tell you the truth. When you have advertisers and you have people who are putting the money forward to national groups that are running satellite feeds, that are running internet servers that you have no control over, they come in and they tell you, our advertisers don't like your attitude. Our advertisers don't like what you're saying. And if you don't change what you're saying, our advertisers are going to pull, and we're going to pull you. So what am I going to do? I have to say, well, look, if the listeners want it bad enough, they're going to have to pay a little bit to get it. And it's only $4.99. So I said, okay, I'll make it cheap, because I don't want to be that bad guy who says, oh, you're not going to get me unless I think I'm worth $10 a month. I said $4.99 a month, and I kept it at that. And the reason why I did that was because of everything that's going on. MSN right now, Microsoft News has fired a number of people. They're going to hire AI to do their news now. It's going to be churning it out by AI, not by reporters. It's going to be by AI. Why? Because they want to set it and forget it. They want to have the AI police and the data and the algorithms police these websites and platforms. And if they hear a word, a magic word, or if they see a YouTube, or if they see an image, or they see something they don't like, immediately be excised. You will not be brought back again. I am not going to go through that pressure with my shows. All those things I've worked 25 years to have, I'm not going to go through that pressure. It's just not worth it to me.
You know what? I'm really glad to hear you say that, because in all honesty, you're treading on thin ice as far as the advertising and, everything you just said, because you strike me I've been listening to you for several years. You strike me as a true patriot in the sense of a man who loves freedom, and you understand the value of the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe I get that from you, and I've called you in the past, and I've commented on that. And just to touch on that very quickly, things are looking dark to a lot of people depending on what outlets they're listening to. And I just wanted to point out really quick, I want people to remember, overwhelming odds is when the best and the strongest rally together, communicate, listen to a man like yourself, but people need to communicate, get to know your neighbors, because if it does get shut down, hard copy books are where the real data is. And communicating,
that's why
that have been around.
That's why I also organize the library. We're putting books in it every day, and the reason why is because we want to be able to have it in a nice, safe place that you guys can still do your research when all else goes to hell. And and I know a lot of people are coming forward and say it's a bad time to start asking for this, especially when people are living, the way they are with unemployment and everything else. With the money you get from unemployment, I know some of you are probably worse than that, but with the money you get from unemployment, setting aside like $4.99 a month. I mean, I remember I've been on unemployment many times in my life, and I was able to afford $5, $6 for a pack of cigarettes. I don't smoke anymore, but I'm just saying that there are things that you value the most, and, it's like I always said to myself, no matter how broke I am, I'm going to get myself a cup of coffee every day at a coffee shop, and I do that. I even if I had to go to my couch cushions to get that kind of money, I'd do that because that's what I valued. I valued my ritual of having a cup of coffee, buying a can of coffee, getting a coffee maker. These were all the things that I did because I love my ritual of having coffee in the morning. Now, if I have to give that up someday, it'll be pretty desperate. And that's the thing. 25 years of giving away all of the shows that we've been doing on this program. We're live streaming, TalkStream Live. They help us out. Everybody's helping us out to keep the show out there. And it doesn't make a hill of beans difference if you have advertisers going to major companies who are supposed to be helping you saying, oh, by the way, we don't like his attitude. Let's and that's what they're doing to Facebook. That's what they're doing to all the others. You think it's freedom of speech? It's not. It's all about the dollar. It's always been about the dollar. Let's go down to Lucinda in Texas. Hi, Lucinda, you're on Ground Zero. Lucinda in Texas. Ground Zero, you're there.
Yes, sir. I'm right here.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
I was telling your caller that I have a different take of what is occurring right now in the news as far as the riots, and I truly believe that history is being erased.
Okay.
And by erasing history, we're also erasing American identity.
And what are we going to replace it with?
That's uncertain. Because
Well, I don't think we disagree. You said you have a different take. You don't have a different take. We have the same take, except you don't know what it's going to be replaced with. I do. It's going to be cultural Marxism. It's obvious.
But it's a little bit deeper than that. Because if you look at what is occurring in our schools with our children, they have already attacked them in their identity, in their masculinity, in their femininity, in their gender. They are already attacking them according to their color of their skin. They are asking them to identify themselves either as straight or a multi-gender or whatever it is. They're just completely tearing them apart.
Well, if you're allowing the schools, Lucinda, to tell your kids what gender they are, then you're failing as a parent.
But what I'm saying is that is just the beginning of what they are doing, because by doing that, they're also being very selective of the history they're giving them. And we're not being very truthful as how the children are being taught in the schools, because not everyone that is dark-skinned is a descendant of African Americans or slaves. And the same thing, just because you speak Spanish, it doesn't mean that you are originally from Mexico. So a lot of, for instance, if you look at the bilingual education, the children are being taught Mexican history instead of American history. And all of the children are being taught that, even though they're coming from El Salvador, they're coming from Argentina and other countries, and they're learning a Spanish that is completely different than the Spanish that is in their homes. Yeah. And they're being asked to identify in a different way. So really, little by little, every child is being torn apart as far as their identity. And most of that is because most of the children are not growing up with family history. They do not know their own history. And we're losing our history because we are not connecting with it. A lot of us, we are dependent.
Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? Whose fault is it if our children are having this? Is it the fault of the schools or is it the fault of the parents? I mean, if you're just letting the schools tell your children how to think and you don't give them any direction about certain ideas that you may have and you're not having this connection, there's something wrong there. You know? You need to sit down and say, okay, what are you learning in school? Have an interest in their welfare. And if what they're not getting, you can talk to them about those things, and they're a lot smarter than you think they are. 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. We'll be back. Go to Carl in Delaware. Hi, Carl. You're on Ground Zero.
Yes, hello, Clyde.
Hi.
You amaze me once again, for real. Last night I was listening to this guy on the talk radio, and he was talking about changing of the anthem and John Lennon's Imagine. And he said he didn't like Imagine. And I got indignant and outraged because how dare anybody not like Imagine?
Right.
And so I'm listening to you today tell me that John Lennon said that it was the
Communist Manifesto. Yeah,
right.
He said it.
Man.
No. He said it. He said it in the book Lenin in America. You can get the book. Jeffrey Giuliano is the guy that wrote the book, and he was interviewing Lenin. And Lenin was really surprised because in 2004, Imagine was voted the third greatest song of all time. Jimmy Carter said that in many countries around the world, the song is sung almost like it's a national anthem. And Lenin said something to the effect, he says, how could it be a national anthem? It's anti-religious, anti-nationalist, anti-conventional, anti-capitalist. He says because it's sugar-coated, it's accepted. He said he said virtually it's the Communist Manifesto set to music. And it's true. I mean, when you're thinking of, no heaven, no hell, world of peace, tranquility, no possessions, no war, no religion, everybody living in a world utopia, world plantation. Yeah, that's what it is.
No, but I'm about utopia, but I liked the fact that you knew that, so that calmed that. But now I can't. So now the only song I got that's like that is A Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong.
Well, A Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong is a great song, but what I'm trying to tell you is that Lenin himself said that the song was sugar-coated Communist Manifesto. That's Lenin's voice, Lenin's words. Uncle Doug in North Carolina, you're on Ground Zero.
Hey, brother, how are you today?
I'm doing good.
Well, listen, what is going on with all the craziness of Joe Biden, and then we're looking at Trump, and then we're also in the middle of nothing really happening with any of those guys.
Well, I made a comment today. I was interviewed by Cooper Banks today, and he asked me the same thing, and I said, well, let me just tell you what they're doing. They're setting us up for something where they're going to make it a law where you don't have to be a certain age to be president. You can be president at a younger age. Seriously. Yeah. You watch. The biggest mistake of all is we're gonna be voting in these 75, 80-year-old old guys, and one of them's gonna die on us, and we're gonna be left with
a 13-year-old.
Yeah, like Greta Thunberg, right? They'll have her be president of the New World Order. It's scary, but it can happen. I mean, that's what I talk about.
God bless AOC doesn't ever get in there.
No, well, she bats her eyes enough. Maybe she will. Like, I'm the president of the United States. Like, it's not really like what you think it is. Like, every time that's how she speaks. So, anyway.
Hey, man, love you. Don't sheeple.
No, you don't be a sheeple either, Uncle Doug. Uncle Doug with us hasn't heard from him in a long time. Speaking of, speaking like this, like, whatever, like this, like, how would you like to hear some Words in Reverse. Well, we got David John Oates coming up. It's been 6 months. It's time for a 6-month review of what the hell's going down in reverse speech. So we're going to have him come on and talk to us about what is coming, and you're going to hear some very remarkable reversals from some very important people right here on Ground Zero. 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero, and we'll be back.
Following a disaster, your home emergency kit will be invaluable. Building a kit doesn't take long, and you'll be glad you did when disaster strikes. Here's a list of items to include: a first aid kit, battery-powered or hand crank radio, flashlight, extra batteries, an emergency whistle, cell phone with charger, cash and small bills, a local map with your family meeting place identified, food and water to last 2 weeks, garbage bags, dust masks, and seasonal clothing and footwear. Add prescription medications or any other important items unique to your family's needs. Once you've created your kit, check food expiry dates once a year and update seasonal clothing for growing children. If you have pets, make sure you have everything your furry friends need in an easy-to-carry grab-and-go bag. To learn more about preparing an emergency kit, visit mil.wa.gov/preparedness and get 2 weeks ready.
Be sure to get your low-cost 2-week supply of food with a miraculous 25-year shelf life by going to preparewithgroundzero.com.
Spinning complacently in the darkness, covered and blinded by a blanket of little lives, false security has lulled the madness of this world into a slumber. Wake up, an eye is upon you, staring straight down and keenly through, seeing all that you are and everything that you can never be. Yes, an eye is upon you, an eye ready to blink. So face forward, with arms wide open and mind reeling. Your future has arrived. Are you ready to go?
The loudspeaker spoke up and said, "Wait, Jimmy." The loudspeaker spoke up and said, "Wait, Jimmy." The loudspeaker spoke up and said, "Wait, Jimmy." Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up. Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. Rip it down. Forget the past. Kill it if you have to. This was a line from a Star Wars movie. Forget the past. Kill it if you have to. It's the only way you're going to find out who you are. And these are some of the things that are being pushed now, saying that all the old ways, all the legacy systems that we've had in our lives, all the things we've counted on for the last 40 or 50 years are archaic. We don't need them anymore. So we need some abrupt changes to happen. And so how do we change things? Well, we go around and we burn down things, we destroy things, we take down statues. And, you know, I was making the comment that when you're looking at history, and we were talking about 790 France, I was talking with Cooper Banks today. It's on my Facebook page. We were talking about France. We're talking about the French. talking about how they were ripping down statues. They were ripping down the statues of the apostles at Notre Dame, and they were burying them, and they couldn't find them for 200 years. And then they went into the public square, they renamed it, and they guillotined all the guys that basically opposed them. I don't know if they're going to guillotine everybody here, but certainly we're all being set up for some major war. And all this repression, all this division is part of the plan. It's been talked about for years. And it was always warned from the pulpits of the neoconservatives or the really conservatives that the future would be a moment in time where those with the power to change minds would use our race divisions as a way to rip the cloth, separate us. And all of this is, everybody feels they're oppressed. And it's funny because they look at the statues and they think that all of them represent oppression. Only certain ones, though, represent oppression. The other ones, it doesn't matter. But one of the things that I always tell people is I say, Trump sucks is not a political strategy. And destroying property sends a message, but they don't realize that it's the wrong message. It's a declaration of war. It's a challenging the principles of civic history. But, of course, we have many people on TV telling us, don't deny the science, don't deny the consensus, do not deny your political affiliation, and please don't remember history because, we want everything to burn down. We want it's a scorched earth policy. It's certainly what I see it as. And if you look at the data that, I've been talking a lot about data being the new God, data being the new oil. I mean, if you look at the data for what's been going on the internet and Google, civil war is trending right now. Words like riots and protests have actually spiked and trended just after COVID-19 was spiking as a search term. And in early June specifically, the word Marxism has now spiked and has been trending steady on Google. And most voters fear the political violence is coming, and it's going to come hard on everybody, especially opponents of the president's policies, just like they did the second year of Barack Obama's presidency. They did the same thing. 31% of the United States say yes. People of the United States say yes, we are more than likely to have a civil war within the next 5 years. So we're destroying property and endangering the lives of innocent people. What's the point? There's no sense to it. It's mob action stupidity, and will almost certainly guarantee that the great silent majority of Americans continue to side with the thin blue line that's against them. You're not impressing the American majority that want to see the real America remain, but out of convenience, many people will not manage to fight against what is coming. And there may be what appears to be a civil war in America, but what are you going to get? You're going to get a color revolution. That's the thing. One of the most amazing features of this color revolution is the fact that those behind it don't give a damn about the damage that this war is doing to the Trump administration or anything, or the institution of the President of the United States for that matter. And really, the United States as a whole. The damage is indeed immense. And the bottom line is this. President Trump is in immense danger of being overthrown. And at times, when you hear him speak anymore, it appears that he has accepted the idea that this is going to happen. He's accepting a lot of these things. But the only way to tell, in my opinion, if we can really get down to the spirit of it all, and when the president speaks, and when Joe Biden speaks, when all the other politicians speak, what they're really telling you about the issues today, COVID-19, civil war, the strife and division amongst people, we're finding out the truth with reverse speech. And every 6 months we bring David John Oates on the program to tell us all about what he's found and what he's discovered in the voices and speeches of those that are our leaders and other people who are personalities in pop culture. David John Oates discovered reverse speech in 1987, and since then, he's dedicated his life to research and promoting it across the globe through lectures, training shows, and media appearances. He also uses it in his private therapy practice to help people break through their emotional challenges. He's an amazing guest, always on this program. Please welcome to Ground Zero, David John Oates. Hey, David, welcome to Ground Zero.
Hey, Clyde, how are you this evening?
Doing good. We're doing good. We're trying to keep things together here in the United States. I know in Australia you guys have some of the same problems we have. Sometimes it's almost like we parrot each other. But we're living in some really weird times. What'd you say?
Oh, yeah, you certainly are. They're very, I would use the word dangerous times. Look, I've been getting reversals for the last 6 months about a war coming. I haven't gone public with it, really. I talked about it on my Facebook page, but I'm sort of a little bit leery about going, about making a future debt prediction. But the reversals I'm getting they're just overwhelming. And yes, I believe America is on the verge of a civil war. I think it's going to start in America and it's going to spread to the rest of the world based on all the reversals I'm finding.
Is the end result, or is the end literally what we're looking at is a lot of leaders of the world are actually getting together. They want to create something called the Giant Reset, and they're meeting together at Davos in 2021, and they're saying within 6 months we're going to start seeing some radical changes being done to the United States and other places around the world.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. No, I don't have anything about that.
Well, and see, when we're dealing with this stuff, when we're dealing with the turmoil and the strife, it all happens and it all begins, I think, with how we were treated with the COVID-19 scares. And with the reality of this thing and what they have done to us and how they have kept us pretty much on lockdown. And many people are just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's why you're having the riots. You're having the people just rise up because they're tired of being kept in their homes.
Oh, yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Look, everything's right for it, Clyde. The tensions are strong, and political feelings are strong too. It's America's on a flashpoint. Look, I'm watching it here from Australia, and I'm just watching it happen. I'm watching it before my very eyes, thinking this is crazy. The whole country's going to go up in flames, So.
It seems to be like you're saying, it seems to be a scorched earth policy that has been implemented by a number of the leaders. And tonight I decided that it would be important that maybe we go over a few reversals, maybe some
I'm losing you a little bit, Clyde. You're breaking up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think that maybe what we need to do is go over some past reversals of what was setting us up for this. We look back at some of the leadership like Donald Trump and others.
Oh, okay.
And we can like lead up to the war, lead up to the COVID-19, lead up to all of it. So what do you think, what reversal would best describe, either given by a leader, would best describe predicting what we're in right now?
Predicting what we're in right now. Oh, now that's interesting. All right, I'm going to have to look at my Trump reversals and see what he's got.
Because what was going on is that you have one then.
Okay. Okay. Well, here's one on Trump. Here's one on Trump talking about nuclear weapons.
Okay.
There's a whole lot of talk about that, and that's a bad thing, not a good thing. The last person to use nuclear would be Donald Trump.
But here he says, "Get the gun, you're sad."
Get the gun, you're sad. Get the gun, you're sad. Get the gun, you're sad.
So he would use them. He would be reluctant to use them, but he would use them. That's what the reversal tells me. That's on Donald Trump. I like to play another reversal that's going to lead up to what I'm going to move into.
Okay.
And this is a reversal I found. I played it on your show before. It's a reversal I found in June of 2001 on a client.
That I said that I will be an open with souls, and made the most credible feeling of my heart chakra just bursting wide open.
And this one says, "Soon plan evil on America."
Soon plan evil on America. Soon plan evil on America.
Very clear reversal. And I believe that was predicting the 9/11 attacks.
Well, and it seems that, we can argue that the downfall began with the 9/11 attacks, the discussions of overhaul for government, the discussions of closing borders, but not enough and not quick enough and not fast enough to protect America. And so America went on this downward spiral with those who wished to take over and actually, in insurrection, try to take over the government. COVID-19 is another way that we can bring down the government. It's another way to basically go in and poison the entire well in order to bring down one man. Coming up, we're going to be talking about COVID-19 reversals with David John Oates. David John Oates with us on Ground Zero. The numbers to call 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. Back with more with David John Oates in reverse speech right after this. David John Oates is with us tonight on Ground Zero. There's an organized effort to demonize the United States for all of its sins to bring down one man, Donald Trump. They believe that if their own country has to go down in their struggle against a president they despise, so be it. And also appears to get a pass from progressive leaders and also those who are supposed to protect us from the spread of COVID-19. Believe it or not, COVID-19 spread can be found in funerals, church attendance, and small gatherings, but not in massive protests. New research that was published by the National Bureau of Economic Research found no evidence that coronavirus cases jumped in 315 cities in the weeks following the first protests. Researchers determined that protests have been offset by an increase in social distancing among those who decided not to march. Using cell phone data, the study determined that more people opted to stay home, perhaps due to fear of violence from police clashes or general unrest. All the reports of mass spread and death tolls in states locking down again, how is it that COVID spreads during a Memorial Day beach gathering and not a BLM protest? Again, the data is produced by experts to fit an agenda. It's certainly a bit of agitprop to get the people to get aggravated. David John Oates, though, digs behind the propaganda and the mere words and digs deep into the soul with reverse speech. And tonight he's on the program to show us what the leaders are actually saying. So I guess we could go back to the beginnings of COVID-19 when all of it went down and what is really going on and what they're really thinking about with this spread.
Sure. Let's look at a couple of reversals. Here's one from the CDC.
And sustained person-to-person spread is concerning. These factors meet two of the criteria of a pandemic.
And this one says, the madness, the virus, get the boost.
The madness, the virus, get the boost.
Oh, my God.
The madness, the virus, get the boost.
See, I interpret that as it's been modified. It's been genetically modified in some way. And I got a reversal on Trump that seems to validate that. And here's Trump.
I have another one, sir. You tweeted earlier today that there was, you have uncovered intelligence that there is a sneak attack being planned against American troops, American assets in Iraq. Are we talking about Kataib Hezbollah again? Also,
I don't want to say, but we just have information that they were planning something.
Oh, okay. This may not be about the virus. It says grow weapon.
Per weapon.
But I don't know. How do you grow a weapon? You manufacture a virus and genetically modify it, don't you?
Well, this would be an explanation of the, they were talking about creating something called a Manhattan Project to create a technology that's supposed to beat COVID-19, which, I think is a technology as well. Right. It's a bioweapon technology that certainly has a mind of its own, certainly has, it picks and chooses who it wants to hit. And I just find it odd they're saying that, well, a Memorial Day beach gathering will create more COVID-19 spread than a BLM protest. It doesn't make any sense. But that's the data that's been produced, and that's what we're hearing is that, this is how it goes, that perhaps it's a thinking virus.
Interesting. Here's Dr. Fauci.
Interestingly, we showed him the data. He looked at the data. And he got it right away. It was a pretty clear picture. The Dr. Debbie Birx and I went in together in the Oval Office and leaned over the desk and said, here are the data. Take a look. He looked at them. He understood them.
And he says, all will get her dead to bury.
Oh, look at it is delivery. Oh, look at it is delivery.
Could be I will get.
Oh, look at
Ideas to bury.
Yeah, she's predicting massive. She's predicting massive deaths, which is what he's been predicting forwards anyway.
And again, I mean, even in forwards, he was saying this is all about the data. It's all about the data. It's all about the data. And then he talks about the deaths. Yeah, the data, the deaths, the death data. It's all about that. It's all about the bodies. It's all about the body count.
Right. Right. Okay. All right. Let's look at some of the reversals I've been getting about a war. I have a lot to play.
Okay, let's start with this one. Here we go. What?
Okay, now these reversals are what I call
collective I tell you what. Why don't we take a break? We're going to take a break because we have to have a forced break for the news. We're going to go take a break, and then we'll get to the war reversals because I was thinking to myself that, we're really close to the break, and I don't want to get into this. I want to wait. So let's wait and do the war reversals coming up after this. David John Oates with us tonight on Ground Zero. We're hearing some of the reversals. I mean, every 6 months we bring him on to play some of the reversals of the news and the movers and shakers of the news into the first 6 months of the year to see where we're going, see where we're headed, see what they were talking about. And believe me, it's been eye-opening in these past minutes. But you can call in tonight, 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. Coming on in just a bit. War and rumors of war coming from reverse speech. Stay tuned. We got more to come. Don't go away. On the phone with me is Ronnie from GetTheT.com. Man, I'm taking Allison, and I think it's really helping my immune system. Do you think people should be taking it because of this whole COVID-19 stuff?
Well, I think it's one of the biggest immune enhancers that you can get. I take it every day, and in fact, I have friends of mine that never really were interested in my products, and they take Allison. They're like, we need to get that Allison. Well, I want to make sure I'm okay, so it's funny.
So isn't Allison just garlic?
It's a garlic extract. So when you have Allison Advanced, when you take that, each pill is equal to about 35 cloves of healing garlic.
So it does a lot of cleansing of the blood, but of course, you want to get the tea to cleanse the gut, correct?
If we look at the gut is where all the sickness starts. So when you're dealing with your digestion system and your digestion starts to fail you and not do good, then things that you take or foods that you eat are not going to digest, and so you're not going to get the goods out of them. The tea helps you go. Digestion is top, and it really helps everything work right.
To cleanse your blood, there's Allison Advanced, and also to cleanse your gut, there's Get the Tea. So you get it at GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
I like to think of myself as a very flexible person. I don't change. Well, I do change, and I am flexible, and I'm proud of that flexibility.
The world is going to hell in a handbasket. The world is going to hell. The world is going to hell in a handbasket. The world is going to hell.
Thought I've had. No one's talking about the nightmare scenario. What happens if he loses? Because think about it, and let me explain that to you. What I mean, suppose it's election night, he loses and refuses to concede and tells his followers, go riot.
The violence there in Charlottesville began with a rally by white supremacists against the removal of a statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee from a city park.
Seeing history destroyed. The Confederacy was an act of sedition. It was an act of treason.
What is your badge number?
Seeing history destroyed.
Let the past die.
You're breaking the law right now.
Kill it if you have to.
With your club, I want to know your badge number.
That's the only way to become who you're meant to be.
I want to know your badge number. You hit me on the head with your club.
There is no such thing as race. None.
Really?
There's just a human race. Scientifically, anthropologically, racism is a construct, a social construct, and it has benefits
The military-industrial complex has guaranteed that the Pentagon is heavily involved in many, if not most, of this country's major economic and political decisions.
And it has benefits.
The Pentagon is working in conjunction with major U.S. universities to militarize social science and prepare for global civil breakdown.
And it has benefits.
I like to think of myself as a very flexible person. I don't change. Well, I do change, and I am flexible, and I'm proud of that flexibility.
And it has benefits.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. David John Oates with us tonight. Reverse speech, digging deep into what is going on in the minds of our leaders and why we're in the predicaments we're in, from COVID-19 to war. War on the horizon, so says David John Oates as he digs deep into these reverse speech sessions he does. How many sessions do you do? I mean, how long does it take you to... Weeks?
Oh, no, weeks, sessions. I'm currently working with about 25 clients. That means I've got at least 15 or 20 tapes I have to get done each week, which is a lot of work.
Do they find stuff for you too? Do they find the reversals for you too that you can review and see if they're...
Oh, no, I find all the reversals.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. It's just a job. So we were talking a little bit about COVID-19. We heard that it was grown. We heard a lot of things about the data and everything else that's involved. So now you're saying that you've been stumbling about a lot of reversals and seems to be a repeating pattern of a war that's coming, or at least, is it a civil war or some other war?
I think it's going to start off as a civil war, and it's going to move to a worldwide conflict. And I'll play you reversals why I think this is so.
Okay, here we go.
So we'll start off slowly at first. This is one to prelude.
You know, he was very much a control freak in that sense, and she felt very powerless and also very suppressed, like I did.
Okay, I can play all the forwards. This is collective unconscious information, and here we have reversals that says Southern USA.
Southern USA.
Southern USA.
So what is Southern USA? Well, here we have another reversal that helps explain what is going to happen suddenly.
I know that. Yeah. And it sounds like this is something we might ought to be doing and figuring out how to...
I'm not going to play the forwards. Here we have a reversal that says, instant, you'll feel a war.
Yes, we'll feel a war.
Ooh.
Yes, we'll feel a war.
You got that?
Yeah.
Yes, we'll feel a war.
So whatever is going to happen is going to happen suddenly and instantly. And it's going to hit the USA first. And here we have one about that.
It has to do with federal funding. It has to do with funding.
Right.
Yeah. So, whatever number we're going to show, it's.
And here it says, the battle warning USA.
Red or white, USA.
Red or white, USA. Red or white, USA.
And it's going to be a sudden surge. Listen to this.
Something new comes in. It's like a breath of fresh air, right? It just shows you that.
Yeah. And here we say enormous and ambush.
Enormous and ambush.
Wow.
So are you hearing all of this?
Yeah, this is collective unconscious stuff. These are regular individuals that deep within them, in their collective unconscious, thinking that the war is coming, the war is inevitable, the war is going to be sudden, and so
that's right.
That poll they did where they're saying that there was a amount of people that said there was going to be a war, feeling it. I guess the reversals reflected too, but they reflected as being sudden and disastrous.
That's how they reflected. Yeah. Look, if I was just finding one or two or three, even half a dozen, I'd say, I'm not going to stick my neck out for this. But I've got I've got 30 reversals ready to play tonight. We're not going to get through them all, and I've got at least another 60 odd that I haven't even started to get ready yet. And these are everywhere. Here, listen to this one.
To reset your soul. But David, I was going to tell you too.
Mm-hmm.
I was driving home.
And this one says, "Got a big war."
Got a big war. Got a big war. Got a big war.
And here we have another one.
That's exactly how I felt, and that's what my disability attorney thinks too.
And this one says, "Gamble, plan this warfare on you."
Gamble, plan this warfare on you. Gamble, plan this warfare on you.
A little bit unclear. The on you is a little bit unclear on that one.
No, it's amazing because I think that, many of us, and I think that maybe we need to just kind of demonstrate something just for the moment. I think for a lot of people that are new to reverse speech, they don't understand that a lot of what goes on in reverse speech is called consciousness. It's the unconscious mind bringing things up from the reversal. It's what is going on deep inside us. And I think you need to demonstrate that just so people can see that it's not just some random things. Oh, listen, it's all random. But no, there are people that when you play some of those for a moment, the consciousness ones where you hear in their consciousness just something that's going on, like that they say it and then they say it forward and they say it in reverse. It's just amazing how that happens. You had one where a guy was trying to talk to you in forward and he couldn't come up with it, and in reverse he came up with it, and then he said it later in forward. It's amazing how that works.
I don't know what reversals you asked me to play.
No, the one where you were talking with a client, and the client's talking about something, and he didn't say it at first, but in his reversal he said it. Then you play the forward again of what he said later, and he basically complemented the reversal by saying something in forwards that he was saying in reverse.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I got quite a few of those. Yeah, we call them, I know what you're talking about. We call them lead reversals. They appear in conversation before they talk about forwards. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, because what that is that it's buried in deep in the unconscious. And so while people are forming their sentences and what they're doing, they're grabbing from what's inside of them, and it comes out on the tape. And it's just amazing to hear them say it, not even think about it in forward speech, but then thinking about it in their reverse speech.
All right. Oh, okay. Look, here's Julian Assange. This is he says something forwards in reverse about the media, and then he says it forwards later. I think that's what you're talking about.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So here we go.
How big a role do you feel WikiLeaks had in the outcome of the election? You didn't think Donald Trump was going to win.
I didn't think Donald Trump would win. I thought the establishment, for want of a better word, would see Hillary Clinton losing.
And this one says, evil, the fraud with media.
And there we
go. And then the next thing he says forwards is this.
So what does that say to the American people about media coverage in America? Dishonest?
It's very dishonest. Corrupt is interesting. It depends on your definition.
So he says it backwards first, and then he says it forwards next. Is that what you wanted me to play?
I think people need to see that demonstrated to show that what is inside of a person, what they're feeling inside while they're speaking forward, can sometimes come forward. So this is buried in the unconscious mind, and what eventually gets buried in the unconscious mind comes into the real world. And so if people are thinking about this and they have it going through their unconscious, then we are headed for war, no doubt.
Look, yeah. Gee, I haven't even begun to play all the reversals I've got. We are definitely here. Here, listen to this one. Here, listen to this one.
Businesses or franchise, they do tax returns as franchises, H&R Block and things like that.
And here he says, help me call the bomb shelter.
Call the bomb shelter.
Wow.
Okay, so we're getting serious now, okay? And see, here's this one.
We've this has helped. The COVID has been a big blessing in that respect.
And he says, I see the rockets fly.
The rockets fly. The rockets fly. The rockets fly.
And then we have, I've just got so many of them, Clyde.
Just go for it.
Really want to finish that project with me, or whether he wants to go his own way on his own projects.
And this is like, this one says, there's dark wars in the air.
There's dark wars in the air. There's dark wars in the air.
In other words,
There's dark wars in the air.
There's war everywhere. We can feel it. We're all feeling it. We're all aware of it. We're all sensing it.
It all goes back to that scripture in the Bible. It says, in the last days there'll be wars and rumors of war. And not only wars and rumors of war in our reality, but also the feeling that we are on the verge of war, that there's a war deep inside of all of us that is trying to get out. We see the protests, we see the uprisings from people who are doing actions, but they don't know why they're doing it. They're just compelled to do it. And what's next is, and as I said before, you start tearing down statues. The next thing is people. The next thing is a civil war.
I know, you're absolutely right. And look, I've actually got a reversal that says Civil War, and I've spent 2 hours trying to find it, and I couldn't find it anywhere. I was really quite frustrated. But this is going. Okay, let me play you a couple of reversals that say exactly the same words on different people.
I have so many friends that have been reading conspiracy theories, and they're posting all the stuff now.
Yeah, I know. And this one says they need the war.
Hey, Ilha. Hey, Ilha. Hey, Ilha.
The powers of be. And here's another one saying exactly the same words.
So for somebody who's always been in a job,
this one says they need the war.
And they need the war. And they need the war.
Now that proves something there. That proves something that they said. They said something totally different. Both had something totally different. They said forwards. And in reverse, they said the same words backwards. They said the same words backwards. See, and this is where people say, yeah, well, if they're all going to be the same. The sentences are going to. No, those are two different sentences with the same reversal.
Yeah. Now look,
wow.
Look, this is a common misperception that I'm correcting all the time. Reverse speech has got very little to do with the actual words that you say forwards. It's to do with the sounds of speech. And two people can say exactly the same sentence, and you get two completely different reversals. Or in this case, you can get the same reversal in completely different sentences. Okay? So, it's due. Sorry, go ahead.
I've never heard that before. You never demonstrated that before. In the many years I've talked with you, you never demonstrated a sentence that had different reversals. And so that's astounding. One more thing that people learn every time they listen to this program, and you're on this program, I think that people are learning new things about reverse speech they didn't know before, just saying some strange oral pareidolia, but in reality, it's something more than that. We're going to go to a break. We're here with David John Oates right here on Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. And the collective unconscious of those around us, it seems that when they speak forward, deep inside their souls, they sense a war coming. Is it a civil war, a world war? We're certainly on a war footing now, but is it going to spread and become more intense? Coming up, more reversals on war and rumors of war right here on Ground Zero. We'll be back. A lot of people who are new to reverse speech are always blown away about what it means, and that is that reverse speech itself can be found within gibberish every 15 seconds with everybody. It's not just backmasking record albums or rock and roll or satanic masking. It has everything to do with the fact that deep inside the collective unconscious, lies the truth. And that's what David John Oates says he is inspired about with regards to reverse speech. Tonight, we're getting revelations of what is inside the collective unconscious. And a lot of people that he's playing tonight, those forward, are speaking about just normal things. But when you play it backwards, you're hearing that many people are thinking about a future war, a sudden, catastrophic war. David John Oates, welcome back to Ground Zero. So you said you have a lot of them. We're going to get to as many as we can tonight. So what do you have next for us?
Yep. Yeah, okay. Well, see, we just played an example of two reversals saying exactly the same thing on different forward words. We'll do the same. Another example of this, okay? So here's the forwards.
I believe that all the world leaders that are on our side and working for righteousness.
Uh-huh. And here the reversal says World War.
World War.
Wow.
World War. World War.
And here we have World War again.
Yeah, look, I'm the whole.
Go on.
When you have the whole world in this COVID, losing their jobs, famine.
And here we have World War.
World War. World War.
Wow.
World War.
You know, these
two completely different sentences, completely different people saying exactly the same thing backwards.
So it's in the consciousness, obviously. I mean, that's the thing. It's just, I don't know. Man.
Look, it's absolutely in the collective unconscious. Look, I have never gone public with predictions in my whole career before. I've always been too scared to, quite frankly, in case I've been wrong. But I've been watching these future events in reverse for 30 years now, and they've always come true. And this one, to me, seems so significant and so important that I have to put my neck on the line and go public with it.
Well, when you have that many, come on, it's like that's what science is, right? The duplication of which, and you have this duplication of what is going on with all of these forward and reverse speech saying something about war or rumors of war. It's amazing. We'll be back with David John Oates right here on Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. We've got more to come. Strap yourselves in. It's going to be a really bizarre ride. We'll be back.
Is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
On the phone with me is Ronnie from GetTheT.com. I was reading the other day that I guess anxiety medications have spiked. You have an answer for that, don't you?
I do. You don't have to go to the pharmaceuticals. You can go to AncientLifeOil.com and get yourself some CBD. CBD has actually been proved to help with anxiety and to help with stress. And stress does a lot of bad things, releases a lot of bad chemicals. So if you can kind of get a handle on it and do a little bit of CBD, life is good. And that's where you want to be.
So when people take Ancient Life Oil, they don't have to worry about getting THC or any other impurities, right?
No THC, 0.003. Won't get you high, won't change any drug tests. It's all good. Life is crazy right now, so it takes a lot of edge off, to be honest. It also helps people sleep. So if you have sleep problems, it can kind of help you with that, too.
So great to know that you have all kinds of great things for us right now as we're held up with COVID-19. Where can we go pick up Ancient Life Oil?
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. We usually have a special on the front.
AncientLifeOil.com. Thanks, Ronnie.
Join me on a journey where getting lost is the only true destination. For the past, present, and future, all coexist on the same timeline, where happiness is an illusion. This is the future we are in right now, where our phones are the first things that we touch when we wake up, the last thing we touch before falling asleep. Radiant, seductive screens we so lovingly, endlessly gaze upon. Much like you're doing right now. Welcome to a future where our true reflection is only revealed once the screen goes dark. Welcome to the darkness. I hope you find it enlightening.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said, "Wait, Jimmy." The loudspeaker spoke up and said, "Wait, Jimmy." The loudspeaker spoke up and said, "Wait, Jimmy." Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up. Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. So, you look at trends in the data. I've been really obsessed with this whole data thing for the past 2 or 3 weeks because it seems to, be a true teller of what is going on, especially when it comes to COVID-19, when it comes to what is happening. And I shudder to think that, all of the things I'm seeing in the data are matching what, of course, we're hearing in reverse speech tonight with David John Oates. I mean, we're going to look at a curtain that's going to be rising up on the next 6 months of this year. And we're going to start seeing old anger being rekindled, secret wars, occupations, all these things being ignored by the mainstream media, everything being censored on the internet, things that you never thought would be censored, things that you never thought would happen, like what's going on with Facebook right now. They're pulling, people are boycotting because Facebook wants to start running Trump ads. See, when you look at the previews of the future, and when you want to get an insight into the future, a lot of people want to know what's going on in the future. And so things like reverse speech, Ouija boards, tarot cards, things that dip into the unconscious mind, certainly are of substance right now. Now, I know there's no science to validate speculation about it coming more, only emotional tirades and propaganda being spun to create scapegoats on all sides of the world, which indicate that beyond the president, beyond the politicians, beyond the bankers, there are itchy trigger fingers that are going to be actually looking for war or looking to create a civil unrest. I mean, looking back through the pages of history, we see that the left and the right have somehow changed their spots. As we hear confusing speeches and failed diplomacy, we start seeing a pattern here. And so we've been led down this primrose path of dalliance and the madness that has crossed over into the new timelines. And it's not showing any signs of abatement, not yet. It's time of some ideological apostasy, and that's what we're seeing, where both the right and the left are confused as to which country or ideology is persecuting them. They're wondering which group is persecuting them, which hashtag organization is persecuting them. And with this type of perplexity and division, it's probable that our country is going to be in the crosshairs of this so-called safety net of intelligence, collectivism, pseudo-police state. I don't know. All these things are going to unravel, leaving us vulnerable. And I mean, when you're looking at all the walls we're putting up, I mean, the walls aren't just on borders. They're what we're putting up on the conscious level and on the unconscious level. And this should send a red flag to anyone who can smell a conspiracy or who can see that it's an overripened conspiracy to create war. I mean, look, I know that there's no evidence of this. There's no proof. But you look at what has been happening. A lot of things happening in the pop culture that have shaken us up because the big lie has been repeated so many times by the media, by politicians, About half of the U.S. public are ready, and they're willing to see, or they're willing to entertain the idea of war. And a lot of people want to know the truth because they see a lot of fake news and misinformation, and they're saying, well, what is the truth? Well, John Oates, who is the director of reverse speech for many decades, has been using reverse speech as a way to dig deep within the unconscious mind. And as we are exploring it tonight, we're hearing that many people, normal people within their unconscious mind, are sensing the coming of a war. Now, David, welcome back to the program. A lot of listeners, and I'm curious too, because I've always had this question as to why a man who was a cutthroat businessman and a computer mogul decides that he wants to be a humanitarian to help the planet. And to do so, he wants to give everybody vaccines. He wants to tell everybody about disease. And he's just an expert when he's not an expert. He's really not an expert on anything, only making a lot of money for himself and doing so with his own ego in mind. I'm talking about Bill Gates. And a lot of people have been asking, is there anything deep within the unconscious mind of Bill Gates that needs to be opened up here on this program tonight?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I got lots on Bill Gates. I've just picked 4 of them out.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the first one. Here we go.
We simply buy investments that are properly and policed by governments, and then we do our good work through our donations.
So he's talking about his good work through his foundation, and he says backwards, grow the gold, you menace now.
Grow the gold, you menace now.
Grow the gold, you menace now.
So he's creating money to create a menace, to create further problems.
Grow the gold, you menace now.
And then here he is talking about vaccines.
The services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy.
Oh, I'm not too sure what he's talking about here. I'm sorry, I thought vaccines. It says, why don't we use poison?
Why don't we use poison?
Oh, it's not clear.
Why don't we use poison?
Close enough. Close enough. Why don't we use? He's talking about how we can lower the. He was talking about in that speech. He was talking about how we can lower the population to lower CO2. And
no, I see.
So why don't we use poison?
Well,
that's weird.
Here he is again.
Okay.
In certain respects, computers are far faster than we are today. Multiplying, perfect memory, and it's this wonderful auxiliary tool that lets us communicate and create the ability to simulate things.
So here he says, killing this city.
Killing the city.
Oh my God.
Killing the city. Killing the city.
He's don't like him. And here we have another one.
It's very tragic that even in the case of polio, in the last 6 months, the workers have been targeted, both in Pakistan and in Nigeria, and killed.
And he says, I lock the sick.
Why you lock the sick?
Why you lock the sick?
In other words, all of these 4 reversals show that he's doing a lot more harm than good, and he's menacing the earth.
Why don't we release the poison? Why don't we release the menace and lock up the sick?
That's right.
That's what he's saying. Why don't we release the poison, release the menace, lock up the sick, and then we'll have our zero growth population. His reversals give him away. I mean, even forwards, he says things that slip by. He kind of sticks them in there, and they slip by about, well, when we kill the rest of the people, oh, did I say that? The final solution would be, you better not say final solution, Bill. Oh, yeah, that's right. I shouldn't call it the final solution, because that's what Hitler called it when they killed all the Jews. My bad. That's Bill Gates. He's just, I don't know why anybody puts him on TV and calls him an expert on anything. The guy is a mess, obviously, and even his reversals say he's a mess, in my opinion.
I agree, absolutely.
And he has a partner in crime named Dr. Strangelove. We call him Dr. Strangelove, of course. That's Mr. Fauci, Dr. Fauci. And I was curious. A lot of people want to hear more. If you have any more on Dr. Fauci and what he has to say about all this.
Yes, I do. Let me just pull them up as quick as I can. Dr. Fauci, here we go. Okay. Here we go.
But it was patently obvious, looking at the data, that at the end of the day, if we try to push back prematurely, not only would we lose lives, but it probably would even hurt the economy.
This is interesting reversal. Her dad, they're trying to kill. So who's trying to kill?
The dead they're trying to kill. The dead they're trying to kill. The dead they're trying to
kill.
And
then here he says this one.
If you just look at those and say, there are very little infections in this area or that area or that area, we don't have to worry about it. You're making a big mistake.
And then it says, yes, there's a lot to kill.
Yes, there's a lot.
Ooh.
Yes, there's a lot.
I hear there's a lot that kills. Yes, there's a lot that kills. Yes, there's a lot that kills. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yes, there's a lot that kills. Oh, my God.
I would agree.
So do you think there's a conspiracy to release this and that they're just basically looking at the death tolls and dollar signs in their eyes? I mean, you hear Gates talking about the poison releases. Yeah. You hear about what Fauci has to say. I mean, both of them, they're both, partners in this. They're both trying to find a vaccine.
Here, listen to this one. This is Gates from a couple of years ago.
We simply buy investments that are properly and policed by governments, and then we do our good work through our donations.
And it says, this is 2 years ago, Corona grow in humans now.
Grow in humans now?
You got to be kidding me.
Grow in humans now? Grow in humans now?
There you go. Does that give you the chills?
I think we should end the show right now. It's done. We're over. We're so screwed. We are so screwed. David John Oates, jeez. Talk about a damning reversal. Oh, my God. It just gets better and better. David John Oates with us tonight on Ground Zero. Corona. Oh, you're kidding. 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. David, I want to hear that forward and reversed back and forth so we can make sure that we're not pulling a fast one on people. That's just too much. Stay tuned. More with David John Oates on Ground Zero. Don't go away. David John Oates is with us tonight on Ground Zero. And he just dropped a bombshell on the show, which I call the $4.99 reversal. If you are on Aftermath.media and you pay $4.99 a month to get our show, this is the one that is worth the whole month right here. So I want you to humor me for a minute, David. Please, please explain again, when you're hearing reverse speech, what are you hearing?
Well, we're hearing multiple levels of the human mind. Sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's unconscious, sometimes it's collective unconscious. But we are tapping into the inner thoughts of the individual. Okay. Now, this one I just played on Bill Gates is a conscious reversal. This isn't unconscious. This is something he's thinking and planning at the time of speaking.
Okay, so we're going to, yes, it makes sense. So we're going to play that. For those who missed this one, I'm going to play it again because it's so damning and it's so shocking. So I want you to show us where the reversal exactly is after you I want you to play it forward, play the reversals, then play us where the reversal actually is in the sentence so people know you're not just making this up. So here we go. This is Bill Gates speaking in forward.
Okay, so here's the forwards.
We simply buy investments that are properly and policed by governments, and then we do our good work through our donations.
And the reversal is Corona grow in humans now.
Grow in humans now.
Grow in humans now.
Nice and clear.
Grow in humans now.
So here's a whole lot backwards. Here we go.
Machine what grows. New mensen I got 6 Miller Bachman.
I heard it right in the middle. Yeah, I heard it. So it just comes out like, oh my gosh, it's just amazing. So, okay. So, now I don't know if we're ready to move on to the war again, unless there's some that are really damning. I mean, that one, I tell you, is the one that shocked me the most tonight. I mean, I've heard, poison, menace, kill the dead, everything out of Fauci's mouth. All of this kind of, sinks in a little bit, and you're hearing what they're really thinking inside either their conscious or unconscious minds.
Okay, well, look, here's a couple on Bill Gates.
Until we get the certainty we've hit these low numbers, I doubt even if you told people that they should be buying new houses and cars. And
this is actually from this year. He says, "We sick you, we nurse it.
We nurse it.
I mean, from these reversals, I would have to say that Bill Gates was actively involved in the manufacture of
so we make you sick, and then we nurse it. We basically keep it going. We basically nurture it and keep it going. Amazing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Incredible. What else have I got here? It's that'll do for. I'm just seeing if I've got anything damning on Trump about the virus that I can play, but I can't.
Actually, I was recalling that when we were playing some of those the last time when he was talking about the virus, he seemed like he was pretty eager to see it all go away, pretty eager to find a cure, pretty eager to do all this stuff. And, I just find it interesting, though, that we're finding these reversals with two of the most controversial and the most revered by the progressives, Bill Gates and Dr. Strangelove. And both of them are working together to try and bring about a vaccine with groups like Moderna and others. And they're pushing these issues of lockdowns and trying to avoid herd immunity so they can at least take a shot at making the shot, really. And I think that these reversals kind of reflect that. They reverse. The reversals actually show that this is what they've been doing. They've been nurturing the poison, nurturing the menace. You hear Corona coming out in the reversal. It's all there, and it depends on how you feel about reverse speech. But from what I've known, and I've known you for so many years, that this is something nearly 30 years or how long have you been doing this? 30, 40 years?
36 years now.
36
Clyde.
years. So 36 years you've been doing this. You perfected it down to a science. You got it. It was actually recognized by intelligence circles as being valid. There was some, like Dick Cheney's office, and several people were investigating you, wondering if you were getting information that you weren't supposed to be getting.
Yeah, there was memos going back and forth back in those days, and then they hussed it up so damn fast. It was like someone put a lock on it.
Yeah, they didn't want anybody to know because it was just, and they still use it in a lot of, I know that they use it in a lot of intelligence circles. So David John Oates with us tonight on Ground Zero, some amazing reversals. Like I said, this is some amazing stuff. And we're going to get to the more war reversals and your phone calls. So have those ready to go, too, on Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. Like I said, I mean, these are some amazing reversals tonight. We are, breaking through and talking about these. And like I said, I'm completely blown away. I'm completely shocked about what we're hearing. I don't know if I'm surprised, but I'm shocked at how clear they are and what they're saying because, stuff like this, it certainly is a look into the deep, dark reaches of the mind, deep, dark reaches of the collective unconscious and what they really have under the surface. 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. We'll be back with more from David John Oates and your calls. Don't go away.
Intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. you'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hey guys, it's Clyde, and I'm excited to tell you about Youngevity, a supplement company that I've been associated with since 2016. After 1 year, I lost 140 pounds and felt so much more energetic. Since 1997, Youngevity has had one objective: to enhance the lives of people through lively health and wealth. Dr. Joel Wallach and Youngevity have pioneered the mineral supplement market, spreading the 90 for life message throughout the world. Over the years, continued development and innovation has established Youngevity as one of the most successful companies in the health supplement market. If you'd like to feel healthier, look better, you can go to our special website, www.groundzeroforlife.com. That's www.groundzeroforlife.com, or talk to one of our health specialists by calling 877-877-4202. That's 877-877-4202.
These cities, it's like living in hell. Chicago's an example. It's like worse than Afghanistan. They're anarchists. The big thing they want is they want to really destabilize our country, and we don't let them. They've created bedlam. They've destroyed very important things. I mean, you're also talking about statues of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. They'd like to get Jesus. We're going to get tougher and tougher. And at some point, there's going to be retribution, because there has to be. These people are vandals, but they're agitators, but they're terrorists in a sense.
Bad boys, what you gonna do?
Why are you speaking about the war, Dr. King?
Trump losing is not going to create a second civil war. Will there be people who will be upset if he loses? Yes. Will there be maybe some cross burnings in some localities? I wouldn't be surprised.
If they are not all destroyed, it will be civil war without end.
I'm one of the 22 million black people who are the victims of Americanism.
The entire nation should be outraged when a 3-year-old is executed on the streets of Chicago and a 13-year-old young girl was killed on the west side of Chicago as well. It makes no sense to me that we continue to stand up against the system, but we will not stand up in our own neighborhood.
Then came a second war. Black against white on a double battleground. Racial slurs, Confederate flags, cross burnings, knifings, killings.
One of the 22 million black people who are the victims of democracy. Nothing but disguised hypocrisy. I'm speaking as a victim.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. David John Oates, our guest tonight, reverse speech. And what a number of reversals we've heard tonight. Very shocking, not surprising, certainly shocking at how accurate they seem to be. And we're going to put up some more, have some more dealing with war, and then we're going to go to the calls at 877-733-1011. So, David, we started off talking about COVID-19 in the first hour, we did in the second hour, and now here we are again talking about ending up in a war footing here in the United States, maybe all over the world. Many of your clients, many of the people you're talking to, and others, just normal, average, everyday people, have within their unconscious mind the idea that we will be going to war soon.
Now, let's look at what this war is going to achieve if it does happen, okay? So here we go. We got a couple reversals about the outcome of the war. So here's the first one.
Sid and I had to pay money for like $110 to rent the council hall and all that sort of stuff, and it just didn't really do anything, David.
And like I say, just normal everyday people in normal everyday session work, not talking about a war or anything, okay? And this one says, the war will break the devil's sword.
The war will break the devil's sword. The war will break the devil's sword.
In other words, it's almost like the police state that's on us, you know, the brutality, the protests, the the war is going to break that. And this verse talks about a restructuring of America as a result of the war.
When Leo and Scorpio square each other, and if you can master the tension between those two.
This one says, her Sam, and Sam is a metaphor for America, her Sam, we refit Sam, the grief in it.
Her Sam, Sam, her Sam,
and once more,
her Sam,
in other words, we refit, we're structuring, we are recreating, we are breaking the devil's sword. It's, however, it's not going to be a pleasant process. Here we have one that talks about the corruption in America.
I am hoping, because I already feel better with your help.
Oh, yeah?
The things that you've done already, I honestly.
This one says, you'll feel rot, USA.
Yes, USA.
Rot's very quick, sorry.
Very quick, yes.
So she's talking about the trouble that we're going to see in America.
Let's do one more, or a couple more, and then we're going to go to phones. So let's do a couple more.
All right, let me play this one. This is about the recent NASA mission that just went up, the SpaceX, two astronauts and the two new astronauts to the space station.
Doing all the social media, trying to sort of get all that going, and spending 80% of your time doing that.
This one says, NASA, strong your naughtiness.
NASA, strong your naughtiness. NASA, strong your naughtiness.
NASA's up to some strange business in space. I got some other reversals that talk about surveillance and spying. I'm sure there's surveillance and spy satellites, hundreds of them up there.
Yeah, X-37B, I'm sure is a spy plane. We know that for sure. We're gonna get some phone calls in right now because a lot of people want to talk to you. So and talk about a number of things that are going on in current events. Let's go to Luther in Missouri. Hi, Luther. You're on Ground Zero with David John Oates. Go ahead.
Hey, Clyde. Hey, David. Thank you guys so much. First off, I can't believe what we just heard. That's incredible.
Yeah, isn't it great?
I would love to hear some of these calls maybe reversed, or to get a gauge on what people are saying, maybe consciously or subliminally. But my observation is that we're actually kind of in the midst of a civil war already. Reddit and Facebook, or the digital Philippi, Bull Run, Fort Sumter, feels like a conscription of armies has already happened, maybe silently through social media, not like an act of Congress. And just how America is fighting some external wars digitally, I feel that maybe the new civil war is being fought online instead of like IRL. So that's all I have. Thank you guys so much.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I would say that, the beginnings, though, I mean, you can see, once again, it's all about the data. The data shows that a lot of people are talking about war. They're always talking about it, but they're wondering when the tipping point's going to be. But I'm saying the tipping point's already happened. We're in the midst of this now, and we basically allowed ourselves to just not. I mean, no one's asking to take up arms. Saying, why don't we just at least make a statement? Or, I mean, the people are arguing amongst each other when in reality the state is the enemy. The globalism is the enemy. This is the thing that's the enemy, and we're all fighting against one another. So the globalist state can move in, and we're looking at a Marxist a cultural Marxist society, or at least an anarcho communist society at the moment. There's no real figurehead, but it seems to be all over the place, and it's because, I mean, you look at history, and history will point to this. We're going to go to Lewis in Texas. Oh, I'm sorry, Lewis is Lewis there? Okay, let's go to Lewis in Texas. Hi, Lewis, you're on Ground Zero.
Hello, Clyde. How you doing?
Doing great.
The reason I called is, first off, this is all bull butter. Because history is not for you to like or dislike. It's for you to learn from. And if you learn anything from history and through all these civilizations, people, if they don't protect their property, and they don't protect their community, and they don't protect their city, then they are part of the problem.
But people aren't. People are just letting it burn. People are just letting it go, and they're not knowing when to move. But it seems that if there's ever danger, which I see danger every day, danger is to walk outside my office. They don't understand the dangers. They don't understand the potential dangers. They only understand the potential dangers if it's told to them on the news. Anybody else is just conspiracy theory, according to them.
Well, there was a couple towns, and I'm a truck driver. That's why I call from all over the place. But I pulled up, and there was a couple towns that chased these people right out of their town. They said, "Nope, that's not happening here."
Right.
So that's what you need to do.
Right.
And the people of Seattle, it's their own fault. They should have stood up for their city, and they didn't. And they are part of the problem.
Lewis, I thank you for the call. Let's go down to Dave in Oregon. Hi, Dave. You're on Ground Zero with David John Oates. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, thank you to you. And I always love it when you have David John Oates on. It's a classic show every time.
Yeah.
I love you guys. I hope Liam and Janine are doing good.
They're doing great.
I heard your call for $4.99 a month. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
What is ridiculous?
We're so much more than that.
Oh. Well, the thing is, it's not about the money. I mean, it's partially about the money. It's just about the idea that we needed to lift off, get away from all the headaches and the horrible boycotts and threats and all the things that happen. So we moved to Aftermath.media. It's only $4.99. And look, I was giving it away for 25 years, and I just thought to myself, I don't want to be overpricing it for the listeners. I want to keep it pretty low key. And I'm not making that much off of that, but I'm just, I do need money to live, and so that's what I use.
You know what, Clyde?
What?
You should have a home. You should have a beautiful home.
I don't.
All the crap you go through, because you don't wake up and turn that mic on and just start talking. You've got hours of research, and
I mean, David knows how hard I work, don't you, David? I know how hard you work.
Well, and I would love to hear the backmasking of what I'm telling you, because it'd probably say, "Hey, I love you and I appreciate you."
Oh, thank you.
But I mean, for everything you guys do, I'm giving you $50 a month. I roof houses for a living, and you're worth every penny.
Well, thank you.
I turn you on every night.
Thank you.
And if it's $2 a show, man, isn't that a deal?
Yeah.
That a deal?
It's actually 25 cents a show, Dave. So that's how I'm a cheap date. It's only 25 cents a show. I don't know if you know this, David. We had to make a move because of a number of reasons. We were on a major server, and there's a lot of things going on the internet that people don't understand. It's happening to people already, and I just jumped because I got tired of it. There are a lot of, even Facebook, all these groups are facing they're facing censorship, but it's not the kind of censorship where they're saying no freedom of speech. It's the kind of censorship where sponsors and others will demonetize because they don't approve of content, or they don't approve of support, they don't approve of certain people, and so you're constantly saying, well, you're fighting against the idea that you're not going to be making any money, because we're living in times now where money's tight, and even advertising money is tight. And so we had to move all of our archives, podcasts, over to a place called Aftermath.media. It's a library. We have our own library now. So you ought to go over there and check it out. I think you'd love it. Maybe we could include some reversals there as well and link them back to your site. But it's just a library where you can have all kinds of research and have that research done.
Yep. Sounds great.
It's really great. So anyway, we're going to take a break, come back with a few more reversals, and then hopefully we'll get some more calls. And, of course, we'll be getting calls also after the show on Beyond Zero. We'll do that online as well. 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. Back with more Ground Zero. Don't go away. David John Oates is with us tonight on Ground Zero. So, David, people are interested in doing their own reverse speech. People are interested in your seminars. People are interested in how they find out more about it. Where do they go to find out more, and what are you up to? What kind of new projects are you involved with?
Oh, okay. Well, currently, of course, with the coronavirus, I'm not traveling or doing lectures or workshops anymore, unfortunately.
Right.
I am going to do a whole day webinar in the next month or so. People can keep up to date with all my travels and all my latest reversals by going to my Facebook page and just searching for David Oates, and just add me as a friend, and I'm on there many times a day making latest posts. You can call me if you're interested in session work or private consultations. I'll give you a phone number. It's 50. This is an American number. It's 503-568-7077. That's 503-568-7077. If you want to know all about reverse speech, go to my website, reversespeech.com. And it's a massively huge site. I've been building it for 30-odd years. My Facebook page. That's where all my activity is, and where
Fantastic.
I post all my reversals and everything.
Up to date for that as well.
Got a very busy practice. I have a lot of success with clients. So
it's amazing. Okay.
I'm sorry?
So, nothing. You were cutting out just a little bit there
Hello?
for a minute. Are you there? Can you hear me? Oh, tell me this is not happening. Are you there, David?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hear you now.
Yeah, we were kind of seeing a fade here. You know,
Yes, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, they can put a man on the moon, but we can't reach Australia on Skype. It's kind of bizarre. But here we are. David, why don't you play us a couple more reversals? They're just going to knock it out of the ballpark tonight.
Okay. All right, okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
All right, let's play a couple reversals about the Army being used.
As far as I understand, the U.S. is under state of FEMA. It's under FEMA until September 15th.
And this one says, met the solution, the Army.
Met the solution, the Army.
Met the solution, the Army. Met the solution, the Army.
Wow.
And here where's the other where I've got about the Army? I got two reversals about the Army. Oh, gee whiz, where's the other one? Met solution, the Army, Opsia War. Here we go. Here's the other one I got about an Army.
I can't hear her.
Hey, nor do I share a whole lot with him either, so, yeah.
And this one is, shall the Army seek the war?
Shall the Army seek the war? Shall the Army seek the war? Shall the Army seek the war?
So there we go. We got armies, and I don't know whether the army's going to be used in, whether Trump's going to bring the army in, but here's a funny one. This is a bit of a light-hearted one to end off on.
Okay.
Yep.
I think that I'm okay. I don't think there's any problem that I can think of.
Okay. All right. And this one says, be a jerkiest war.
Be a jerkiest war.
It'll be the jerkiest war. It'll be the jerkiest war where I'll turn to beef jerky. Anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, David, thank you. Oh, thank you. We're out of time. Always a pleasure having you on the program. Again, reversespeech.com.
My pleasure.
Reversespeech.com. Amazing tonight. I think that it was very shocking, not surprising, but shocking what's going on. And we appreciate you. In fact, we'll have you on again for the Year in Reverse, so stay tuned for that. That's another 6 months away. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of great reversals for us then.
I sure we will. Okay, thanks, Clyde.
Thanks, David. Thank you. David John Oates with us. Stay tuned. We have more Ground Zero to come. And, of course, on Beyond Zero as we continue on Facebook. If you want to watch us, we do all kinds of crazy antics behind the scenes and take your calls. So stay tuned for that. Don't go away. We'll be back with more Ground Zero.